In a quiet village surrounded by green fields and tall mountains, there lived an old father and his 3 sons. The father had worked hard all his life. He was wise, honest, and deeply respected in the village. His sons, however, were very different from him. Each one of them had a dream of his own, but none of them truly understood the secret to a happy life. The eldest son wanted wealth. He believed that money could buy everything: comfort, power, and even happiness. Day and night he thought only of gold, business, and profit. His heart was restless and his eyes were always on what others had. The second son wanted respect. He wanted the whole world to admire him. He believed that happiness could only come if people praised him, bowed to him, and called him a great man. He worked hard only when he thought others were watching. His heart was proud, and his mind was never at peace. The youngest son was different. He did not chase wealth or fame, but he was lazy. He believed happiness meant doing nothing, eating, sleeping, and living without responsibility. He spent his days wandering aimlessly, wasting time, and ignoring the advice of his father. The old father often watched his 3 sons and felt worried. He thought, each one of them is lost. One is blinded by greed, another by pride, and the youngest by laziness. If they do not learn the truth, their lives will be wasted. One day the father called his sons and said, "My children, I have grown old. I may not live long. Before I leave this world, I want to give you a gift. This gift will teach you the secret to a happy life. Tomorrow morning, we will take a journey into the mountains." The next day, the father and his 3 sons set out at sunrise. The road was long and tiring. The eldest son complained, "Why must we walk so far? If you have gold to give, why not give it now?" The second son said, "Father, are people waiting to honor us there? Why else must we go?" The youngest son yawned. "I am tired already. I would rather sleep under this tree." But the father said nothing. He simply smiled and kept walking. His sons, though unwilling, followed. After many hours, they reached a hilltop where the air was cool, and the view stretched far into the horizon. On that hill stood 3 small huts. The father pointed to them and said, "Each of you will stay in one hut for 3 days. I will give each of you 1 candle, 1 clay pot, and 1 seed. At the end of 3 days, I will return, and you must show me what you did with these things. Then I will tell you the secret to a happy life." The sons were surprised. "Just a candle, a pot, and a seed?" they thought, but they agreed. The eldest son went into his hut. He looked at the candle and thought, "This is useless. What I need is gold." So he melted the candle, hoping he could sell the wax later. He used the clay pot to store water but did not care for it. The seed he threw outside, thinking, "This is too small to matter." For 3 days he thought only of riches, imagining how he could build a fortune if he had more. The second son entered his hut. He lit the candle and placed it by the window, not for light, but so that others outside might see it and admire him. He filled the pot with flowers to make the hut look beautiful, hoping visitors would praise his taste. He buried the seed in the ground but never watered it, believing it would grow on its own. For 3 days, he dreamed only of honor, recognition, and applause. The youngest son entered his hut. At first he felt lazy and thought of sleeping, but then he remembered his father's words. He lit the candle at night so he could see in the darkness. He used the clay pot to store clean water for drinking and cooking. He planted the seed carefully in the soil and watered it each day. For 3 days he worked quietly, using what he had been given. On the 4th day, the father returned. He went first to the hut of the eldest son. The hut was dark, empty, and cold. The candle was gone, the pot was dirty, and the seed had never grown. The father said sadly, "You wasted everything. You were blind with greed, and greed has left you with nothing." Then he went to the hut of the second son. The candle had burned out, leaving melted wax by the window. The pot was decorated but empty inside. The seed was buried in dry soil, lifeless. The father said, "You lived for the eyes of others. You cared only for praise, but your pride gave you no true result." Finally, the father went to the hut of the youngest son. The candle still burned faintly because he had used it wisely. The pot was clean, full of fresh water. The seed had sprouted, a small green plant breaking through the soil. The father smiled and said, "You have learned well. You used the candle to light your nights, the pot to serve your needs, and the seed to bring new life. This is the secret to happiness. Use what you are given, care for it, and do not waste it." The 3 brothers stood silently. For the first time, they understood. Happiness was not in greed, not in pride, not in laziness, Happiness was in gratitude, discipline, and responsibility. The father said, "Life gives each of us a candle of time, a pot of opportunities, and seeds of potential. If you waste them, you will live in regret. But if you use them with care, your life will be full of light, growth, and peace." The eldest son lowered his head in shame, realizing his greed had blinded him. The second son wept, knowing his pride had given him nothing. The youngest son bowed gratefully, promising never to be lazy again. From that day forward, the three brothers changed. The eldest worked honestly and built wealth with patience. The second learned humility and served others with kindness. The youngest became disciplined, valuing his time and energy. Together, they lived not only as brothers, but as men who understood the meaning of life. Years later, when their father passed away, the brothers remembered his words and taught their children the same lesson. Life is a gift. Do not waste it. The secret to happiness is not in what you want, but in how you use what you have. And so, the story of the three brothers spread through the village and beyond, teaching generation after generation that happiness does not come from greed, pride, or laziness. It comes from gratitude, discipline, and love.